The Governance and Leadership Program is specifically designed to target some gaps as we see them. This industry, the resources sector, now operates in an increasingly complex environment. Employees, investors, stakeholders, civil society, they're all looking for the industry to do much more than they might have expected of them 10 years ago, 5 years ago even. They're looking to see that company good intentions actually translate into realities. And to achieve that, companies have to be well organised, well led, and the regulatory environment they operate in has to be clear, has to focus on outcomes, has to allow people to do their work and do it well. We see that there are currently a number of needs that aren't being met. One of those is to give leaders in mine management positions a really full and comprehensive understanding of all of the other issues that they may not have had to deal with earlier in their careers. So environmental expectations, social expectations, health, safety and wellness. We need to make sure those managers are skilled. We need to make sure they understand stakeholder expectations. We need to make sure we give them the tools that they need to work effectively. In addition to that, we also know that leadership itself is an area where we've seen a lot of very interesting, groundbreaking new research, which essentially says that if leaders can establish a shared social identity with their teams and embed that in their organisations, it's a platform for change. We know we need massive improvements across the sector in the way that certain outcomes, what traditionally would have been the non-core outcomes, are delivered. And we need strong leadership to make that happen. So I think, Jill, that there are several potential products for the program, and certainly we're in discussions with industry about these now. One of those is indeed the whole area of masterclasses, so giving leaders that comprehensive understanding of the environment they're working within and what they need to do to deliver, and also giving them that understanding of the science of leadership and how that's changing. But in addition to that, we have the ability to look at the way companies are currently structured and led, what their organisations look like, how they communicate, how their performances are assessed, their KPIs and so on, and to form a view about whether or not that organisational structure and those processes are going to deliver the outcomes that people are looking for. So there's an element of masterclasses, there's an element of research, there's an element of consulting, supporting and advising. And we're not only focused on leaders in companies, certainly regulators need advice as well on how they can regulate in this complex and different environment. So traditional processes will not be enough. Regulators need to think about the best way to achieve the outcomes that they are looking for. We're looking at the here and now, but we're also looking at the future. So in terms of where does the program go over the course of the next few months and years, there are some really big challenges that the resources sector faces. For example, how do you transition effectively? How do you transition in a region? If a region has been a predominantly mining region, how do you make a change which is fair and as smooth as it can be? That's governance of change, and that involves leaders across the sector, including company leaders. Another massive challenge, how do you transition to a zero carbon emissions economy? What's the role of the mining industry? What is the role of mining leaders in that space? How do you govern that change? And I think probably because I have a legal background, one of the things that does also exercise my mind is we have a tendency in our society to increasingly add on rules. So I'm a lawyer, I'll say this, we add a clause. If we need something, we add another clause to the ones we already have. The difficulty with that is it makes the legislative framework incredibly complex for the people who have to operationalise it. It's really difficult. So we wonder, is it possible to simplify the legislative framework and actually make it more effective? I think the answer should be yes, but we need to explore that, and we need to explore that with some quality, evidence-based, applied research. It's not something you would simply go ahead and change overnight and hope for the best, clearly. So there are some really large ongoing challenges for the industry, and I think that the Governance and Leadership Program can assist the industry in dealing with those challenges. So right here, right now, let's skill leaders more effectively. Let's talk about the current legislation and the current policy frameworks, but let's also look at those other challenges that are as yet unresolved. What role can we play in helping industry deal with those?